She's a pretty half-blood with dark hair, with long hair. What's up? People looking at
Lately there ain't been no competition for the player. Working all day long, this repetition got my weight up. Pumping like a piston, I can hear him yelling, wait up. Whole world I've been lifting, plot is thickening, I stay up. You don't know what it cost me. Now I'm chilling in the penthouse, living lofty. Pray before you cross me, shut up while I'm talking. While I run up stocks, you all on my IG stalking. Man, get out my face, keep on stepping to a king. Yo, you bound to catch a fade. Hope you let it see tomorrow, it ain't had to be that way. Go ahead and try to plead your case, I'm just trying to feed a face. Got my family and my crew, I'm just trying to keep it straight. Name your price and we inflated. We came here from out of state. Landlord and this eviction got you feeling out of place. Way back was poverty stricken, now I kick it with the grace. Call it what you wanna call it, but I know it's fake. I really am a diamond from the dirt. It was really perfect timing in a blur. Wrote the record in the curse. Off the record, I had no one to console me when it hurts. For what it's worth, the glass is half full. I'm foolish, guess you were right. Doubted my whole life, but that all changes tonight. The price is going up, it ain't what it was in the past. Shoot, it's your last laugh. You in danger, danger, danger. Got revenge in my eyes, nah, you in danger, danger, danger. I'll get even when I beat the odds. You in danger, danger, danger. Man, come on, it ain't no surprise. Hard to look me in the eyes when I feel anger. Who am I? Ha, danger. Got the recipe, ain't really hard to re-up. Heroes in my city, yeah, they need us. They stop calling me soon as I put my feet up. They all know I'm dangerous, I'm always down to tee up. Like a party out in Boston, all that talking is exhausting. I've been swimming in my profits, better come to me with caution. Pity you so I don't mind you. You had to front the city just so they could get behind you. Man, that's a shame. I feel more and more strange when I see what I became. All this power, all the money, guess it come with all the fame. When I look back in the mirror, I'm the only one to blame. What a shame, put my blood, sweat, and tears all in the game. Too much love for my city, I'm just here to play my part. Way too many lost souls who just don't know where to start. Find my way out through the art, I'll do whatever it takes. Call it what you wanna call it, but I know it's fake. I really am a diamond from the dirt. It was really perfect timing in a blur. Wrote the record in the curse. Off the record, I had no one to console me when it hurts. For what it's worth, the glass is half full. I'm foolish, guess you were right. Doubted my whole life, but that all changes tonight. The price is going up, it ain't what it was in the past. Shoot, it's your last laugh. You in danger, danger, danger. Got revenge in my eyes, nah, you in danger, danger, danger. I'll get even when I beat the odds. You in danger, danger, danger. Man, come on, it ain't no surprise. Hard to look me in the eyes when I feel anger. Who am I? Ha, danger. Dangerous, dangerous. Dangerous, dangerous. Dangerous, dangerous.
I'm not one of these guys who loved the internet until I found out there was pornography on it. Now I am on the internet a lot. A lot. I would say out of the 22 hours that I am awake during the day, during any given day, I am on the internet about 11 hours. I don't sleep much. Anyway, you get the point.
Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal, Jake, and today we're talking Hangman. Filling in the blanks. Or who's going to be Trump's VP. Not a position I think anybody would be excited to have. Like anybody that could get the nomination would not be excited to get the to get it. if they have to take it because it is the best option for them, that will come with the dual realization that the best option for their career at that point is to bow and scrape in front of somebody who will try to get them killed if they don't participate in crimes together. Let's have a look at the lucky losers. But many other things. We've got the liquid natural gas being not so liquid, as the Biden administration does some good policy. Good. Is it perfect? Is it just to please the lefties? No, and I don't know. But it's better than nothing. We'll talk about that. Greg Abbott playing at a little bit of civil war, is he? Little instigating of rebellion? Yeah, but I don't know entirely what we should do about it, so Saturday felt like a great time to talk about it. And also, the International Criminal Court, judiciary, whatever. There was a ruling from the powers that be that Israel needs to cut it out with the genocide. They're not calling it genocide, and they're not saying ceasefire. Not so sure about how I feel about the first thing. I'm fine with the second thing. And this entire time, I have been, I think, pretty clear that I don't care how we dress up the act of stopping the killing of civilians. I don't care what words are used to describe that, so long as, and hold on to your butts, because this is going to be a hard concept to grasp, apparently, in the United States, as long as we stop slaughtering civilians. That's it. You can call it, what do you call it? You can call it hopscotch. You can call it the stop, the halting of the slaughtering of civilians, a freedom pass, whatever, as long as the killing stops. So we're going to talk about that as well. Largely good news in dark times. It might seem strange to celebrate some of these stuff because context, it's a very sad situation overall, but they are victories, and I think we should celebrate them, and we should talk about them, find out how you guys feel as well. Let's say hi to the gang. Who's here? Finkerbell, hello, good to see you. The Anti-Corporatist, hello. Deborah Kempthorne, good to see you. Rex Trek, hello. Finkerbell, oh, we said hi. Hello to you as well. Looney Tunes 9000. Deborah Kempthorne saying, there are truckers from here in Florida driving in caravan style to Texas to stand off the feds. They are attempting to get hundreds of them there to create a wall at the border. You know, I'm intrigued, I must say. I'm intrigued by this situation. Let's be clear that it is a political stunt. But let's also be clear that a political stunt is not nothing. A symbolic defiance of the government, which actually this is not symbolic defiance, but even if it was just symbolic, it establishes precedent. Not even necessarily in the legal sense. Just when other people are looking at what they can do, they will look to this incident, just like they looked at January 6th, and they will ask themselves, if they're Republicans, what were the consequences? What consequences did Greg Abbott experience? I want there to be an answer for that question that makes them shudder. I want the answer to that question to be more famous than the incident which raised the question in the first place. I want it to be the story of why Abbott, my word, why Governor Abbott, there we go, is in prison. I think that's how we ensure that that this doesn't keep happening. 25 governors have signed a letter essentially siding with Abbott. Do the math, folks. That's half the country's state leaders have said they would rebel against the government, overturn the rule of law, go back to the bad old days. I'm not going to be glib about Civil War. I'm tempted to say things like, oh, the last time this happened, the good guys stomped the bad guys into dust thoroughly. Tempted to go on at least doing that. But in all seriousness, I want to talk about what this will actually mean. It won't actually mean Civil War. Even that wall of truckers won't actually. But it could be the thing that gives another governor the idea that they can do something really dastardly. Really, really dastardly. Like, say, Florida. Ron DeSantis's I was going to say paramilitary, but frankly, military force that he gathered. It's a bunch of weekend warriors, but they are nonetheless loyal to Ron DeSantis. They're the worst psychos he could find, and he armed them, and he gave them more terrifyingly the right to battle in his name. What'll happen if he decides he's gonna, what's a very DeSantis thing? Try to take over Disneyland by force, Disney World, whatever. We should nip this in the bud, in other words. But we will talk about that in detail in a moment. I do want to start us off with even lighter fare. Rex Trek, thank you so much. Dark times equal antidepressant and weed store down the road. Closest store to my house. It's exhausting. Just glad I don't have to work. I'm glad you don't have to either, my friend. Wicked Foxy Dragon, good to see you. Anti-corporate is more than half, Jake. Yeah, it is. And the anti-corporate is, yep, so basically insurrection. Agreed. Deborah Kempthorne, I say wheel Abbott to the front line of the truckers. Wholeheartedly. I just see. I saw a comment. Tinkerbell, these governors are putting their people in danger. This is serious. It is serious. It is serious. But here's a revelation I've had recently, and I guess it's not so much a revelation as a suspicion. My suspicion is that conservatives in the United States. I'll record this. It might be worth uploading. I don't know yet. It's going to be a conversation with you guys. Coming off Pinkerbell's comment talking about the seriousness of Greg Abbott's defying the Supreme Court ruling, and the 25 governors that signed on to support him. Tinkerbell says these governments are putting their people in danger. This is serious. It is serious. But my observation, and I'm not sure if it's accurate, it's just what I think I'm saying, is that Republicans in the United States use terrorist tactics. And that comes in the form of the obvious stuff like stochastic terrorism, where they don't quite have the courage themselves to go out and kill a trans person, but they do their best to encourage lone wolf extremists to do that dirty work for them. Ditto with trying to get their political rivals killed, all that. They use those obvious terrorist tactics. But they also do things like try to goad the reactionaries of the other side into overreacting or playing or overplaying their hand, or in other words, doing something extreme enough as a response to a provocation that it accomplishes the real goal of the terrorist, which is to get more people on their side by just generating conflict. You generate an extreme conflict and you siphon off most extreme participants that are on your side. I don't know what the right way to handle this border conflict is going to be. And we'll talk about it more when we do the proper segment on it. But I do know that I am target for Greg Abbott if he is trying to be a terrorist, if he's trying to use terrorist tactics, I guess I should say. I am the exact kind of person that makes us vulnerable. The people like me amongst our ranks. Because my instinct is to have Biden order Greg Abbott's arrest. And Biden probably can't even do that. I'm sure if we open the books, we'll find Biden can't do that. That's a law enforcement thing and blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. Whoever's in charge of that, to kick in the doors to the governor's mansion, give Greg Abbott a savage beating, just for fun, just for me, and then drag his bruised and broken body out into a squad car and hold him in prison with no heat or electricity and just like a sort of a dripping cell. In fact, let's upgrade it. Hold him in an oubliette, a pillar in the middle of a deep chasm, so that if he rolls over in his sleep, he falls to his. That's my instinct, and that's exactly what Greg Abbott would love for a significant amount of us try to do. Fortunately, I have observed myself being wrong often enough that I know not to follow my instincts right away. My instincts are often quite wrong. What is the goal here? The goal is to get control of the U.S. borders again. Never have lost it in the first place. Greg Abbott should have been terrified to do what he did, because he should have already known what the consequences would be. And those consequences should have been dire. Clearly, they weren't, but we are on the weekend after he did this. We should come up with this together, to have a conversation, and decide what is the correct thing to do. I'll open it up to you guys. I'll tell you this, you know my instinct. Now let me take all the silly emotion out of that and just look at what I think needs to be accomplished. Criminal charges. He broke the law. It couldn't be clearer that he broke the law. There is no one to appeal to. The Supreme Court said what's what. He says, well, I disagree, so I'm not following that. He doesn't have that authority. He does not have the authority to defy the Supreme Court, but he is defying the Supreme Court. That's a rogue governor. That means he's holding the levers of power when he's not allowed to. In a way, he's not allowed to. He's holding the stuff that all of us collectively made possible. If you live in Texas, you especially, I'm sorry, Pink, but the rest of us too. The Texas gets federal dollars just like every other state. His power, Greg Abbott's power, is possible because of this collective agreement we have called a country. Well, he's violating that agreement, but he still holds the power. That can't be. Just can't be. So I think there needs to be criminal charges. I also think he needs to be removed from office. The how. The how matters. I do think Joe Biden is going to be seriously considering the politics of this. And, well, I think morally, you should set aside the politics to do the job that the politician was elected to do. It's not an either or scenario. Thing no Democrat seems to understand still is that Republicans will not like you. They will not believe you if they do not respect you. They won't respect someone they certainly won't respect a president who lets a governor defy them openly, break the law of the country they're in charge of, and the president does nothing. The president waits till Monday. The president turns it over for a while. Here's a weekend that we're experiencing with Texas in complete control of a U.S. border. Physically, apparently, prepared to physically stop U.S. forces doing their job. Cannot be, Joe Biden. That just cannot be. Doesn't matter if you think it's going to hurt you at the polls. Then we deserve to be damned. You got to deal with it. But that's the thing. How? Do you send a car full of gentlemen in suits to inform Greg Abbott that he is to leave the governor's office that day and come with them because he's going to jail that day, back that very minute, pack his things, tell the lieutenant governor to take the elevator up? I don't know. Do you file something somewhere? I don't know. This is just something I haven't considered. Probably should have, given the monsters who are in charge of half our states. I will say this. There's a lesson learned here. Going forward, we have 25 other governors and Greg Abbott. 26 total, I guess. That we need a plan for, as in a plan for removing. This plan needs to be public. Yes, it applies to all governors. But the ones we have to worry about, we know who they are. They all signed a letter. They need to know not only that they will be arrested if they break the law, but they need to know the manner in which and the time frame in which they will be arrested and tried. That is, that's on the docket. We're going to talk about it. What do you guys think? Anti-corporatist, 26 out of 50, actually. Was it 26 people who signed the letter, or was it 25 governors who signed the letter, plus Greg Abbott, who the letter is about? Regardless, somewhere in there. 26, 27, way too many. 1 is too many. 10 is terrifying. Eyeballing 30 means we have a serious problem that needs to be dealt with. Deborah Kempthorne, sending you my empathy, Anticorp. However, glad to hear you have your son and his hug. Wait a minute. What did I miss? Ho, the anti-corporatist. This I like. Someone in the White House press pool should ask questions about President Abbott. Yes. Joe Biden needs to be angry. He needs to be offended. He needs to be worried that he's not respected, because he's not respected. Tinkerbell, rich, powerful men making lives worse in ways they themselves will never feel. That's what makes me crazy about this. Yeah. I'm going to look up a word here. Well done, anti-corporatist. Back at a few, going to have dinner with my son and get a hug. It's been an oxcratic day. Oxcratic means relating to a ruler who has absolute power, taking no account of other people's wishes or opinions, or domineering, an autocrat management style. Enjoy dinner. Tell your son a bunch of internet lefties say hello. And thank you for increasing my vocabulary. Wicked Foxy Dragon. The president has the least power to do anything than any other politician. Yes and no. Isn't it funny? They at the end of the day are the commander in chief. They can say where the military goes. The proper military. So when they say do X, do Y, what they are really saying is do X or do Y, because that is the gentler version of the thing I could do with the United States military. Do they have the legal ability to order somebody to do X or Y in a given situation? It depends on who the somebody is or what the X or Y is. But whether or not they actually have that ability written out in law is secondary to the implication. The implication that I'm saying if you don't do this, I'll do this with the powers I have. And that would be brutal. They have a lot of soft power in addition to a lot of hard power. And I think Joe Biden has made it clear that he will use none of his power to do anything that might possibly offend people who would love him killed. Now, if you or I, I was gonna say if you or I did a thing, he'd be happy to stomp us out. That's not true either, actually. Basically, only if you're a foreigner from a country that an American can't find on a map, then he'll go all out on you, because he doesn't think of those people as human beings. He sees them as I don't know what. Clay targets. Not good. Let's get to the news. Start with the fun. If you were a politician right now, you were recognized at the national level, maybe the saddest offer you could get would be the opportunity to be the next Mike Pence. How would you like to spend potentially 8 years, 4 years, I guess, as things currently stand, of your life, standing next to Trump while he says the dumbest things that have ever come out of a human's mouth, and nodding and pretending like he's great, and answering questions about the stupid and evil things he's done, and running cover for it, trying to pretend like they are anything but the decisions of a moronic and particularly sinister child. Well, Trump has got to pick a vice president, a running mate. somebody who will be shown to be definitively a worse choice than somebody who has 91 criminal charges against him. It's embarrassing. Also, you might get killed if you don't break the law for Trump when he tries to overthrow the government next time. This is from Fox Business, shared by our good pal Pinkerbell. Thank you, Pink. Trump advisors talk VP choices as they assemble shortlist in anticipation of New Hampshire win. This was from January 20th. Donald Trump says he knows who his running mate will be for a 2024 presidential bid, but senior officials inside his campaign are still weighing a number of potential candidates and have formed a shortlist to draw from, Fox Business has learned. Donald Trump said he knows who his VP will be. That means nothing at all. The speculation of a running mate for the former president comes after Trump racked up a big win in the Iowa caucuses. He is poised to win the New Hampshire primary on Tuesday, barring a last-minute surge by his top two opponents, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Well, we know how that went. Trump did win, but Haley... Wait, Trump didn't win New Hampshire. Haley won. Who won New Hampshire? I think Haley won New Hampshire. Won the New Hampshire primary. GOP. Oh, no. Yeah, never mind. Donald Trump won with 54% of the votes, but this is notable. Nikki Haley got 43% of the votes. Not exactly a landslide, Donald Trump. The anti-corporatist. I'm surprised Fox Business doesn't have her blocked. Tinkerbell, LOL, not even close. 43 to 54? Considering this is Nikki Haley and Donald Trump, I don't know, man. Nikki Haley did great there. That to me is at least enough to justify her as a serious threat to him. At the very least, as a spoiler. A win for the... Well, she'd spoil more for Biden, wouldn't she? But it tells you where... I don't even want to call them centrist Republicans, but it tells you where old-fashioned GOP folks stand. A win for the former president? Yeah. People close to the Trump campaign say neither Haley nor DeSantis are on Trump's VP shortlist at this time. We should do an in memoriam to DeSantis's presidential campaign. Just go over the highlights: the floppy boots, the strangely homoerotic ads, the weird smiling. I'll never get over Ron DeSantis's. I think he was hamming that up, by the way. I think he was trying to smile weird. I think he correctly guessed that Republicans like grating personalities. They like people who annoy, but he doesn't get the ways in which you're supposed to annoy. You're supposed to annoy like you're in control of it, you know? Not like it's accidental. Not out of weakness, not out of inability. And he was showing an inability to smile by going. Rather, the list includes Senator sorry, Pink said something humorous about this guy earlier. Senator J.D. Vance, Republican from Ohio, and Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, both rising stars of the GOP and members of the party's Trump-centric MAGA wing. In years past, the podium scandal alone, where Sarah Huckabee Sanders appears to have bought a mid-range podium but paid an exorbitant amount of money for it so her friends could go on an overseas trip with her. That would have disqualified her entirely. These days, nope. MAGA loves it. They like corrupt people. They like people who break the law. They just do. New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik coming off her takedown of top Ivy League college chiefs during a hearing over campus anti-Semitism, He's also on the list, though considered a long shot. One person close to the campaign told Fox Business Trump is more familiar with Huckabee Sanders, his former White House spokeswoman, who battled the press on his behalf. Same goes for Vance, the former venture capitalist and author who adopted the MAGA platform that deviates from Republican orthodoxy on trade and foreign engagement. To win his seat in 2022, GOP advisors say, "I doubt we hear anything anytime soon," said one GOP political strategist. His people are still talking about different players. Also noticeably absent from the short list is another Wall Street executive turned author and Trump-styled populist Vivek Ramaswamy, who, after losing in Iowa, promptly endorsed Trump for the GOP nomination. Look, I don't need to read the whole thing to you. The point is this. All of those are perfectly reasonable names to float. We were talking about this on the Discord a little bit earlier. AC and Pink and Foxy and I. His choice it's not irrelevant, but I can't stress enough. This is a guy that throws hamburgers. It's not going to be well thought out. It's not going to be. Pence was, but Trump is beyond that. He's going to pick someone pretty damn close to at random. And he's going to, in my opinion, my suspicion, he's going to do it at like the last possible moment. Anti-corporatists laid it out pretty well when he said Nikki Haley would be a good pick. And I agree, it would be a good pick. If he could get her to sign on. But his focus right now is on him and him alone. And the tendency I've seen of this guy has been, it started in 2016 needing to win over Republicans. Then by 2020, it was a desire to be loved by Republicans. But frankly, at that point, MAGA was its own party. Now he doesn't even care about that. He understands that, at the very least, anybody who is a serious person, who pays attention to the facts and cares about them even a little bit, won't be considering him. Haley got 43% in New Hampshire. It's been demonstrated he sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll. He stole documents from you and me. He tried an insurrection. If he gets reelected, it will be through the most extreme Americans coming out in droves, and there are a lot of them. It will be entirely people who don't care about the rule of law, who don't care about democracy, who are fully in on the cult. He won't do, I think, anything to jeopardize their view of him. I think he's going to say, whoever is my VP pick will be graced by that choice. And they will be a complete yes man or woman. I think he's going to try to find the most offensive to us, to everybody who's not a worshiper of Trump, the most offensive person who will kiss his ass. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene, maybe, yeah. Matt Gaetz, yeah, that would. Yeah, I would see red from now until when both of those people were in prison. Yes. He's going to find somebody who will be very, very loyal and very, very terrible for the country. And he'll be doing that simply to lay down to communicate to all of us where he's going, what he's all about. Basically doing one last rush for the, I don't know what the word is, button, door. Going to try to grab the wheel, I guess. Going to try to take power, and shut everybody else out of it. So he'll need henchmen for that. He'll need someone who, during the next January 6th, will say, no. Remember, we've canceled this election. I know you guys had it anyway. But Trump said, we're not doing elections this time. So as the vice president, I will now stand with him. Try to just turn this into a dictator. That's who it's going to be, in my opinion. Maybe it will be Haley. Who knows? Guy throws hamburgers. Not exactly a brilliant strategist. Dumb, says Wicked Foxy Dragon. That is the word you were looking for, Jake. Yeah, when talking about Trump, it almost always is. Yep. Mars Falcon. True Love will mail Trump letters to the Georgia work farm every week and put money in his commissary PayPal tab. Tim won't let his lover down. Yeah. That's true. His politics in the Trump American way. The anti-corporatist, I guarantee she would drop out if he got, or if she made if he made her the vice president. I could see it. Yeah. I do think this. I think Nikki Haley does not give a about anything except her own career. Self, basically. Her place in the history books, all that. If she sees a path to the presidency in 2028 by being Trump's VP and being able to say, like, well, I was a calming presence in the second Trump administration. If that's her angle, yeah, I could see her taking it. Sure. I could also see her. I'm going to get a lot of disagreement here, but I could just hear me out. I could see her doing something as wild as fighting Trump for all 50 states or darn close to it in the primaries. Basically, as long as the Koch brothers are willing to fund her. And then turning around and saying, Biden is better than Trump. Trump is that bad. Vote for Biden. Or vote your conscience. Stay home. Need to. Don't vote for Trump. I could see her doing that. Not because she would believe any of the things she's saying, but because she will have made the calculation by that point in the race, depending on how all these trials look, that it will be more likely to get her elected in 2028 as the reasonable Republican. By her predicting that in 4 years, America will be looking for a Bush-style Republican. But I don't say that because I think it's some, I have some insight into her politics. I say that only because that is how little I believe she believes in anything. I think it is as likely that she would accept the VP nomination as it would be for her to endorse Biden. She does not believe in anything. She's a Republican. They don't believe in things, especially the centrist Republicans. Centrist Democrats don't believe in much. Centrist Republicans believe in absolutely nothing, except enriching themselves. MAGA believes in insane things. They do believe in some things. They're all nightmare stuff. They do have beliefs. White supremacy is a belief. Christian nationalism is a belief. Not good ones, but they have them. Did I cue this up? Yeah, let's talk about some good news, gang. Some even better news. I think that was the last one. It's good because, all right. Betcha. It's good because none of those people make me nervous. You know? Not even Haley signing up with Trump makes me nervous. There's nobody in that group, J.D. Vance, nobody that I can think of that I think would increase Trump's chances of getting elected. Even no matter how much I hate Matt Gaetz, no matter how much it would infuriate me if Gaetz was the VP pick, I don't think that makes it more likely that Trump's going to get elected. That's frankly all that matters. I've learned from 2016, I'm not going to celebrate that Trump is the obvious presumptive nominee as things are currently standing. I'm not going to celebrate that, but I do think he's not a very strong pick. We're not dealing with a movement that's based in reality. Whoever is the Republican choice is going to get told, is going to be presented on Fox News as great, fantastic, a saint. And no matter what Biden does on Fox News and OAN and Tucker Carlson's whatever bar he's streaming from now, on the PBD podcast, Joe Biden's going to be presented as awful, and the Republican nominee, whoever it is going to be presented as great. So when it comes Trump himself, I'm just looking at what is most likely to get him in power. Well, let me try this again. I'm looking at what legislation is going to result from this election. I think that's probably the best way to. It's bad no matter who the Republican is, if it's any Republican at all. And I don't think that Trump is going to be able to woo anybody from the left or even the center at this point to his side. So when you talk about the VP pick, you're talking about somebody when it comes as like a function of who's more likely to get whoever the Republican nominee is elected. You talk about the VP pick, the only function they will be able to serve in this race is to pull people over from the center to vote for the Republican. And I just don't see any of them being able to do that. I don't see Matt Gaetz certainly being able to do that, and none of them are going to inspire people from the far right to vote for Trump more. And there is no Mike Pence. There is no serious centrist that's going to convince people that Trump is not as bad as he seems. Trump made it clear that the VP is just a puppet. He did not respect Mike Pence at all, and I don't think he's going to make the mistake of putting somebody that might ever disagree with him even once in that position again. I just don't see any of those people listed as making it more likely that a centrist is going to vote for the Republican candidate. I think we got a pretty good shot of snuffing this party out once and for all, but it's going to take a hell of a lot of work. Deborah Kempthorne, it was easy to get the QAnon followers to find their God in Trump. Terrifying, but yes. John Bailey, enjoying a cocktail and smoking weed from San Francisco. Keep up the great work, Jake. Well, hello, John. Thank you so much. Tinkerbell, Tucker is not cool enough to have a pubcast. That's true. He would be so uncomfortable around people with opinions. The anti-corporatist, the resurrected JFK Jr. is a belief. That's true. Yeah, Wicked Foxy Dragon saying, oh, MAGA believe in some things. Crazy, but they still believe. Groove Dragon, good to see you. Wicked Foxy Dragon, it won't matter who the VP is. Trump will consolidate all power and appoint himself king. True. True. Gang. Let's talk about not so liquid natural gas. Once in a while, Biden reminds me that he is a Democrat. Let me try that again. Reminds me that the Democrats are representatives of the left wing in the United States. At least for now. Yeah. Democrats, despite being largely a conservative organization, are the closest lefties have to representatives in government. And that means from time to time they do things that are of use to people. They're amazing like that. A major decision has been made. I'm gonna give you. She's not. I call her a Michigander. She's not from Michigan originally, but I give you former Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm, current Secretary of State. What? Secretary of Energy. What am I talking about?
Biden administration temporarily pausing and now pending decisions on the export of liquefied natural gas. New export facilities that do not yet have a permit from the Energy Department will now be on hold during the pause. Officials will evaluate the impacts of LNG exports on energy costs, energy security, and the environment. This new move does not affect current exports or previously permitted facilities that have begun construction. Joining us right now is Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm. Good morning to you. We've been talking about this all morning and trying to understand the rationale behind it. A lot of folks looking at this and saying that, you know, exporting LNG has been a great thing for the United States.
Yeah, I mean, we are the world's largest exporter now of LNG, but we have a responsibility at the Department of Energy to ensure.
Let her talk. Let me just correct them both for a second. Who says it's been a great thing for the United States? Did you get money? Did you get anything from the U.S. exporting liquid natural gas? Did you get a paycheck for that? I didn't. Some rich person got a lot of money, and admittedly, a couple of thousand poor folks got some money to go pull out that liquid natural gas. But those jobs, for the same investment, could have been generated elsewhere. I don't agree with the premise that it's been a great thing for the United States, but I sure agree that in Michigan, we had a 3-week-long winter that appears to be pretty close to over. I think we're going to get one more big snow, and then that's it. And I remember that Michigan in the wintertime used to be a wonderland of snow. Thick carpet of snow over everything for about 3 months. We lost winter, folks. We need to actually take steps to protect the planet we live on. Hence, pausing new exports. Just not even pausing exports, but new exports of liquid natural gas, a thing we do not need.
That all the authorizations are in the public interest according to the Natural Gas Act. And in order to fulfill that responsibility, since the sort of boom, shale boom, and the exports of LNG have begun, we have undertaken a periodic assessment of what the lay of the land is. The last assessment, though, was done in 2018, and at that time, we were only exporting 4 billion cubic feet of natural gas, which is a fraction of what we're doing now. Today we're exporting 14 billion cubic feet. We have another.
Quick question for you, gang. In 2018, was a Democrat president Or was I liar president? Because Republicans cannot be trusted. I mean, on anything. Republicans are the people that do not allow us to measure gun deaths. They try to interfere with that. Republicans are the ones who tried to stop us from measuring the effects of global warming. Republicans are the ones who literally tried to cover up COVID deaths. Surprised that we didn't immediately, as soon as Joe Biden got into office, I'm surprised he didn't immediately order every department in the United States to remeasure everything from bridges to roads to the environment to liquid natural gas exports, everything to be measured again and new reports to be drawn up because, again, the old reports, if done under a Republican administration, must not be trusted. Okay, moving on.
12 billion cubic feet that are under construction and a total of 48 billion cubic feet that have been authorized. So none of that is going to be affected. All the stuff that's under construction that's been authorized, none of that is going away. Certainly the stuff that's being currently exported, there's no impact. But it is, we have a responsibility given how much we have authorized and given the lay of the land across the globe, the climate impacts, as well as the question about what's the cost going to be at home. If we're exporting half of what we produce, what is the price impact for those who use?
Well, let's talk about that. So I think there's a question, Mark. Is this about the climate? Is this, some people would say, is it about politics? Is this about price? Meaning, do you actually think that by doing this, you're going to lower the price back here in the United States? You see the various issues here at play?
And there are various issues. And there are several factors that we have taken into account on these assessments, and we just need to update the data associated with the factors. So the factors are, what is the impact on national security? What is the impact on foreign policy? What is the impact, in other words, our allies and whether they're able to access the energy that they need? What is the impact on the price at home? What is the impact on the climate? And so what we need
But that can't be done without stopping, but without pausing? I mean, I think that's the other question, because some people look at LNG specifically and they say, look, this is a cleaner form of energy. In fact, when it's exported, oftentimes it is replacing energy that might be produced by coal, which is a lot dirtier.
Yeah, it's a good question, and that's one of the things we have to evaluate. This is a temporary pause for the purpose of doing an assessment, which will be done in leadership by our national labs. This is not...
Let's go back a little bit. Just sort of slid that in there. Is this politics? Could this be happening because of politics? Maybe. You know what? Maybe Joe Biden thinks that those lefties who are so riled up at him about this silly little genocide thing that he's participating in, you know, about the massacre, they'll forget about it if I toss them this bone, if I actually take the environment seriously. Maybe. I happen to think Joe Biden actually does, in a Nixon-esque way, care about the environment. But let's just assume for a moment that it is purely political. Who gives a shit? The purpose of what we do here and putting a president in office is to get the president to do things that we want them to do. I don't care what's in their heart. I truly don't. Joe Biden could secretly hate the environment, like have beef with the environment. Ooh, Gaia, Mother Nature, you bitch. He could hate it. If he helps it nonetheless, great. The big part of the reason why I am a fan of not letting Joe Biden know you're not going to vote for him, if you're not going to vote for him, at least just yet. You can threaten him with the Isreal issue all you want, but I just advise that while threatening him, you don't say you've already lost my vote. Say my vote is in jeopardy because of this. If he's already lost your vote, he will do nothing further to try to appease you. There's a subtlety needed in applying this kind of pressure to a politician. By the way, I'm not saying you must vote for Biden. It's a separate conversation. I'm just saying when you contact him, you contact the White House and you let people know how you feel about things. Just be careful with how you're phrasing it. And don't let the cat out of the bag if there truly is nothing he can do to win your vote back. Don't stop him from trying. Don't stop him from pausing all new liquid natural gas export licenses. This is fantastic. This is how we get change done. This is how we apply pressure in the electoral politics system that we have. This is how we do it. If he believes that this is going to win lefties over, let him believe it. Whether it's true or not, let him believe it. I'm a big fan of truth as a primary, I guess, a guiding principle. I am a big fan of that. However, I ain't no dummy. Well, I'm kind of, but not that dumb. We don't need to stop these people from doing good things in the name. We don't need to correct them in the name of being very clear about how much we hate. Whatever, man. This is good. Do want to also be clear, the existing licenses that were approved are many. It's not undoing any harm. It's simply preventing further harm. Tempering that. That said, it's also possible that if this thing pauses for a bit and it gets a very positive reaction, if there's a flood of praise for Biden flowing into the White House, and Granholm gets a lot of atta-girls, there's a pretty good chance that they might keep it going. They might say, "Oh, we need more relief for these other horrible things we've done. Let's revoke some of the licenses we handed out." It turns out when we were doing this study time, that we said we'd be doing over these next few months here, turns out we found that the old studies, for whatever reason, the ones that happened in 2018, they failed to reflect the seriousness of the damage we were doing to the environment and the long-term costs that would have for the nation. And what we need to actually do is scale back our exports significantly. Because that's a political winner. We want a political winner in the headlines during this election season. They might decide to do that depending on the reaction to this. Bear that in mind. Doesn't mean you need to stop advocating for other things. But it does mean that we should play these dummies as much as we can.
An assessment, which will be done in leadership by our national labs. This is not an indefinite pause. It will last some months. There will be a comment period, etc.
I should clarify. It doesn't mean that we need to play these dummies. It means we have an opportunity to play these dummies.
Madam Secretary, it will last till November 5th. That's what people are saying, Madam Secretary. You know that the young voters are the climate is front and center, and the cynics of this on
that asshole. The young voters, they care about having a planet for their own children. You know, these jerks. Yeah. Yeah, they care about having a planet for their own children to live on. Yeah. They care about seasons still existing instead of there just being a fire season and a smoke season. Yeah. Again, let me stress. I don't know if it's political or not. But I don't care. Other than to say that if it is political, if it's even possibly political, we should assume that it is, and we should play into that. They've exposed a weakness. They've exposed something that will make them do good things. We should hammer it, hit it again and again. Love bomb them. Love bomb Granholm. She's been called the worst things imaginable for several decades. Having a handful of people say, "Good job, Jenny." What an effect that'll have. Joe Biden, again, whether you actually, regardless of what you would do with the oar on the lake, if you know what gag I'm referencing, regardless of how you actually feel about Biden, be an ice-cold lefty and siphon off this chunk of yourself, which is in favor of this decision, and write a letter to the White House. Write an email. Go to the White House contact, let the president know how I feel page, and say, good job on this. Just good job on this. Positive feedback. Not to make him feel good. It will make him feel good. But that's not our goal. Our goal is to get them to act like this more often. It's that simple.
On the other side, I would say this is pure politicking, that President Biden needs young voters. And you can see the comments from the climate lobby. This is like, they're celebrating and toasting the Biden administration for this pause. And it looks you don't need, really, if you're cynical, you don't need to look beyond that. It's just.
You can see the climate lobby, and they're toasting this. Ugh. So there's that horrible thing, people that give a about the climate are happy. Ugh. He's just, what a twat. I realize he's making a point about could this be motivated by politics, but his disgust with the idea that people who have an interest in the world being better are satisfied with the decision tells you everything you need to know about this miserable hunk of garbage. Real quick, if somehow you're this person's mother or father and are still alive, you should know that you've raised a horrible son. If you are the wife of this gentleman in the blue tie, you should know that you're married to a horrible man. If you are the offspring of that person in the blue tie, you should know that anything your father taught you growing up should be deleted from your mind. Because this person has wasted their life. Wasted their whole life. I don't know what the meaning of this all is. Truly don't. But I do know what it definitely isn't. And we are not here to burn down planet Earth and do everything in our power to discourage people from making the world better. That's not what we're here for. We're definitely not here to collect a fortune by helping destruction. We're not here to do that. Again, I don't know what we are here for, but I can say we're definitely not here to do that. For example, I might not know how to use a hammer, but I know you're not supposed to eat it. It's an easier question to solve. Why aren't we here to do whatever this punk is doing with his day every single day? Granholm, Jenny, let him have it.
Politicking.
I understand the cynics are going to say what the cynics are going to say, but we are following the law. And under the Natural Gas Act, the Department of Energy is required to assess what is in the public interest.
Right.
We need to update our assessments. And that's
Secretary,
what this is.
I don't disagree with the idea of trying to reassess, every couple of years where things are. I think there's a question mark, really more about the can you walk and chew gum at the same time idea, which is to say, what prevents the department from doing that assessment without a pause while the assessment is going on?
Let me rephrase. Look, I'm not saying that you might not find out that we shouldn't be doing this thing. I'm just saying that if there's even a tiny chance that we could get away with doing this thing, shouldn't we do it by default? Let me rephrase again, make it even clearer. He's saying right now, well, couldn't you have just assumed everything's fine and kept things going as they are until you find out that they're not fine? No, is the answer. What if you're on the set of the movie Rust? You're going to do a scene where you fire an old-fashioned cowboy pistol. Let's shoot this scene. Should we check and see if there's bullets in the gun or blanks in the gun? We'll keep shooting the scene until we count the bullets and the blanks. And I'll assume that we're missing 6 blanks and that those are in the gun and that all the bullets are accounted for. Why would we pause until we know for sure something's wrong? You see how that logic doesn't track? Why would we pause until we know for sure we're killing ourselves? Why wouldn't we pause until we know for sure that we're not killing ourselves? You silly little twerp. Jenny, you lived in Michigan. You were queen of the place for a while. I'd like to see some of that Wolverine spirit. Let him have it, Jenny.
Well, there are 13 projects in the queue between the Department of Energy and FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Those projects account for another 12 billion cubic feet. We need to assess, as we assess, we want to make sure that we are applying the same sort of standard to those that are in the queue, to those that will be coming up into the future. But as I say, the pause would make no difference whatsoever, because none of the projects would be exporting natural gas. None of the projects that are in the queue would be exporting natural gas because they'd have to be constructed. That would take years and years. Nothing will change in terms of what is currently being exported or what is currently under construction. This is just a pause so that we can have an assessment that is rationally based and then apply that assessment to those projects that are in the queue.
Secretary Granholm, will the Department of Defense be involved in this at all? I only ask because one of the reasons we've been so pleased about this exporting of LNG is that we are able to come to the rescue of some of our allies in Europe. You think of Germany and what happened with Russia, them cutting them off from their natural gas. This is a huge thing that we can supply our allies with that natural gas. Who else gets a say on this?
Yeah, and we will continue to do that. And we have projects in the queue that are being constructed that will add to.
So what she has already said multiple times, I'll repeat now because it's the answer to that gal's question. We haven't stopped production. We haven't stopped the export even. We've stopped the issuing of new licenses for export. In other words, we are not going to grow any further our liquid natural gas industry until we're sure we can sustain it. I'm quite confident that the Biden administration, as things currently stand, without us affecting this decision, are going to discover, oh, look at that. It'll kill us in 20 years, which means people will not blame it on me, which means I can make a very slim amount of people happy who will not vote for me anyway and will, in fact, donate millions to the Republican Party. I can make them happy by allowing them to kill my grandchildren's planet for profit. That's what they'll decide. But in the meantime, there's no new licenses being issued. We still have the ability to do all those things that news lady said, all of those things.
What we're already doing. National security is one of the considerations that we make in these assessments, so we will certainly consult with our folks at the State Department, at the Department of Defense. It's really important that we stay strong with our allies. We also have to take a look, consider this. Our allies have also made commitments about reducing their dependence on natural gas. If we have authorized already enough to meet the world's demand just in the United States by 2050, which is roughly what old models have said, that the global demand by 2050 will be about 52 billion cubic feet. If that still stands, we will have provided the entire world with enough LNG, not to mention all of the other folks that are coming online. It is important for us to consider why all these countries are saying that they want to shift away from fossil fuels because, of course, of climate change. And so how do we evaluate what countries have put into place in terms of their own demand for natural gas? Is there going to be that level of demand for natural gas?
Etc. Let me talk about this purely from a greedy American point of view. Let me appeal to greedy Americans. Climate change is not something to be denied. If you don't think it's real, get the out of here. No, let me try it again. If you don't think it's real, genuinely, I'm telling you it is. You can look at the abundantly available data. If you're thinking, though, it might be real, but what about Americans? We can't just lose. We can't just not make an obscene amount of money while other people make lots and lots of money. Well, consider this. If we are exporting less liquid natural gas, that gives the rest of the world incentive to find another way to get their energy. You guys build solar panels, even if we don't want to. You guys build wind farms, even if we don't want to. It makes the rest of the world do the work. I don't think that's how we should be viewing this. I think we should take some responsibility. However, if you're a greedy American, if you're the kind of horrible little person that believes we must benefit most and act last and help least, here's a way we can make the world better for everybody by pressuring the rest of the world into doing the difficult work. I'll go one step further, though, for the greedy Americans. Those people who will inevitably build solar panels and wind farms to collect what energy they can and reduce their overall use of fossil fuels, those who end up doing that will have a leg up on us because they will have infrastructure that provides them cheap, free energy. If we really want to win in the United States, if we want to continue to be the powerhouse of the world, we should not leave energy on the table. Wind energy, solar energy requires infrastructure. You should demand that we build tons of it everywhere we can. Suck up all the sun we can. Steal all the wind we can and turn it into electrons to power in your DeWalt drill. Because that infrastructure will make us wealthier. Just that simple. We'll use less of our gasoline. We'll lower the price of gasoline as demand for it goes down. These are good things. These are things we benefit from. But now back to talking to the lefties. Lefties, as much as you might not like Joe Biden, I'm there with you. This is a good thing the Biden administration has done. This is a good thing Jennifer Granholm has done. We should encourage it. We should lead them to believe that doing more of this will make us like them more. We don't have to promise anything. And I'm an advocate for not straight up lying to these people most of the time. So don't say if it won't get your vote. Don't say you want my vote. Keep doing this. Just speak truthfully to these people if you are appreciative of what they have done in this instance, and encourage them to do it again. Let them make all the assumptions they want to make about what your positive view of this could mean come November. Whatever, man. That's on them if they get it wrong. But if you like what they've done now, if this seems like a sensible thing to have done now, I'd recommend you let them know and encourage them to do more of it. Good God, that was a long one. Wireless mic. I use Milwaukee. Thank you very much. It's DeWalt and Milwaukee. Those two, in my experience, are the top tier power tools you can purchase. Battery powered power tools. What do I use though? Ryobi, of course. I'm poor. I use the kind of drills that break down after any sort of serious use, and you have to replace and ultimately cost you much more in the long run because you've replaced them so often. The kind with worryingly light batteries. But what I wish I had, DeWalt and Milwaukee. Milwaukee might be a little bit better when it comes to the actual drills, but I had a Sawzall from Milwaukee that was fine, but DeWalt makes such a variety, and all of their batteries are interchangeable. Or I don't know if that's true anymore. For a time, almost all the batteries you could pick up from Lowe's were interchangeable, which was lovely. Dominico, yes, anyway, for us to not depend on fossil fuels, nuclear fusion has yet to be achieved, but we must invest more to ensure that we make that happen. Yes, I agree. I think that the recent breakthroughs in that regard have been fascinating, and a pretty good chance that it's no longer sci-fi to talk about nuclear fusion as a sincere way to power things. But let's not discount fission yet. I'm a big fan of nuclear power plants, believe it or not. Groove Dragon. My cordless drill is Milwaukee. Fair enough. Wicked Foxy Dragon. I use the thingy. Yeah, the thingy works too. It usually gets the job done. Climate teacher John J. Good to see you. Okay. Congratulate them when they're doing something right, no matter how small. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, good to see you, Bad Lefty. Groove Dragon. Studies from 2019 to 2021 found scientific consensus to range from 98.7 to 100% In most countries, in this 2022 Pew survey, a majority said climate change is a major threat to their country. It is. It is. It's not a matter of debate. If you find somebody who's disagreeing with you, just move the conversation on and say, let's assume for the rest of this conversation that climate change is real. And side note, you must go learn that it is real, because it is real. It's not something we're going to argue about. Scientists say so. We've looked. We've checked. Don't have enough from scientists? Fine. We've been experiencing it. We make predictions based off of climate change being real. We make predictions about the weather, and those are coming true. We have cameras pointed at the Earth from space. We are watching it happen. It's real, and please join your flat earther brethren if you don't believe it. Anti-corporatist climate weirding. I like that. I have the driest lips on record. Ooh, Groove Dragon, joint and an espresso. Hippie speedball. I think that sounds so lovely. I have an espresso machine and some Cafe Bustelo right there. Hell yeah, that might be my Sunday morning. Although the Lions might be going to the Super Bowl tomorrow. I'll be checking that out as well. Groove Dragon. 9/11 here. No emergency. Fair enough. Science, says Brandy Nuance. Yes, indeed. Bad Lefty saying, but brah. Science is gay, brah. Yeah, science is a little gay. Sure. I did some hand stuff with science in college. Let me cue this up. Cause now we gon' talk about Raiders. I really always think, or I always think that's going to be quicker. Problem is, I have so many gags. This the scene, yes, get rid of them. Well, Governor Greg Abbott, Texas, has now defied a Supreme Court ruling that basically just says, move this barbed wire, you monster. You see, he put a bunch of barbed wire in front of a river that prevents migrants from crossing into the U.S. It's important to say it doesn't stop illegals. It stops migrants. He's dictating U.S. policy by default when he does this. He killed a pregnant woman by doing this, and damn near killed a young family, which we'll hear from in a moment. The Biden administration finally said he must stop, and then he said he won't. So it went to the court. Once again, America allowed the evil thing to keep happening. Well, we got a decision on it. That, in and of itself, shameful. That, in and of itself, bears examination. We should clarify that when the government says stop, federal government tells a state government, you must stop doing a thing. We don't first wait for a judge's ruling. First thing that happens is state government obeys. Then we get a ruling and proceed from there. However, everybody just sort of let it happen, so we've established that's how it's going to happen. State government didn't stop. Court ruling came down all the way to the Supreme Court, and, yep, they said, Greg Abbott, you must obey the federal government because you're not president of Texas, you're governor of Texas. Texas is one of 50 states. Texas is not its own country, which means when you act a certain way with the United States border, you are affecting the border policy for all 50 states. Sort of like how I can't just say, we're not letting in white people in anymore. You know, the Ambassador Bridge there, we're not going to let too many of those suspicious whites. Yeah, Gretchen Whitmer can't do that. I can't do that because that is U.S. border policy, despite the fact that my state is a border state. It's no different in Texas. Yet here we go.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott said his state will continue to hold the line against the Biden administration's border crisis. Almost all of the Republican governors are rallying.
Let's be clear, because I never hear these people correcting this. There is no crisis. The only crisis I can think of is Greg Abbott's treatment of immigrants. That's it. The way he treats immigrants. That's the only crisis. The crisis is a backlog of people requesting to go through the system. But brown people attempting to move here is an invasion in Greg Abbott's eyes. We're being invaded if it's not white people that want to move. If there was 10,000 Norwegians that were trying to move here, Greg Abbott would give them his house and his car. I'm being facetious. He wouldn't give anybody it. But he would force some Native Americans off their land and give that to the Norwegians. But these are brown people, and Greg Abbott is scum. So it's an invasion. But she ought to know better. It's not a border crisis unless you are considering Greg Abbott's actions to be the crisis, which I do.
Behind Abbott in his border showdown. 25 Republican governors signed a letter supporting Abbott and affirming.
Look at that map. Look at that map. Let's just be clear. These motherfuckers are going to need to be dealt with. All of them. All of these punks need to leave office. We need to make a note of who they all are. We need to ensure that their political fortunes go down the tubes. Obviously, all Republicans from a political point of view are the enemy. All Republicans need to be tossed out of power. But specifically these governors. These are people who do not believe in the structure of the U.S. government. These are people that want to go back to pre-Civil War times. These people are a threat separate from the J6 crowd. It doesn't mean they aren't part of the J6 crowd. I'm positive they all are. But separate from that, the letter they signed says that they do not believe the system of government that they are operating in. This is a problem. They have to go. However, this is not what you can do episode, so to speak. Not a. This is more of a think session. Because rolling them out in mass. Getting a paddy wagon, sorry for the offensive term, and tossing them in it isn't reason. But we, the people, need to make note of all of these punks and ensure that we put special effort into destroying their power. If you find out anything embarrassing about them, share it. Look for embarrassing things about them. Look for scandals. Look for people who are not their spouses leaving their house the wee hours. Any dirty trick you can think of. You need to end their political careers.
That the state has the constitutional right to defend itself, including adding more razor wire along the Rio Grande to secure the border. CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez is in Eagle Pass.
Just want to say one more time, they are not defending themselves. They are not defending themselves. They're just murdering immigrants. That's it.
Past Texas. Camille, good morning.
Good morning, Dana. The Department of Homeland Security had given Texas a Friday deadline to say that it would immediately grant federal Border Patrol agents access to this park behind me, but Texas is showing no signs of backing down, paving the way for another legal clash. Texas is doubling down on its efforts at the U.S.-Mexico border. The state is defying federal demands to allow Border Patrol into a public park in Eagle Pass. National Guard soldiers are fortifying the park with armed vehicles, fencing, and razor wire. This is the razor wire at the center of an intensifying political feud between the state of Texas and the Biden administration. Texas argues that this is repelling migrants from crossing into the country illegally, but the Biden administration says that it is preventing Border Patrol from doing their jobs. While the wire has forced some migrants to return to Mexico, others like Rosa Lara and her 4-year-old son, Tiago, still managed to find a way into the U.S. after crossing the Rio Grande. ¿Cómo fue esa experiencia? How was that experience?
Sí, es un poco difícil.
It was difficult. ¿Y por qué? Why? ¿Tenías miedo? Were you scared?
Sí, miedo. Miedo.
¿Por qué? Why?
Porque el río estaba hondo.
The river was deep. Y tenías miedo que de pronto te podías ahogar. You were scared you could drown?
Sí, ahogar, y más que todo el niño.
Especially the kid. You were scared that he could drown. While the White House has called Texas's actions inhumane, some local leaders support them.
Governor Abbott is doing what the federal government should have done a long time ago. I'm not saying about the razor wire, I'm not saying but about curtailing the influx of migrants into the United States.
F this
if
guy.
That would have happened.
I'm not saying about the razor wire. I'm not brave enough to stand by the fact that I want to kill a pregnant girl. Exactly what Greg Abbott did. I'm not standing by that. I don't have the courage to stand by that. I know that's the topic we're talking about, specifically that razor wire, but I don't have the guts to say that that should be. I'm just saying brown people are bad. There's no invasion. There is no invasion. The only immigration problem we have is that southern states have botched it so badly. They have screwed up the process so intentionally and horrifically that we have a massive backlog. They've used bureaucracy to create a problem. But the problem isn't these teeming masses coming to get you. It's these teeming masses trying to queue up. It's a traffic jam that they caused by screwing up all the signals. Now he's throwing bricks at the car. Biden said, stop. And he said, nah. We cannot let it stand. We're going to talk about this in a moment.
Happened years ago, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now.
Government data released on Friday confirmed that officials here along the U.S.-Mexico border processed more than 300,000 migrants in December, a record high. While border officials have seen a dramatic drop in illegal crossings since then, they are bracing for another crisis. Michelle?
Camilo, thank you.
They processed 300,000 migrants. Why were there so many to process? There was a massive backlog. What did processing them do? Cut down on illegal immigration. There it is. Here's the answer. So let's start by addressing the non-problem. We don't have a problem with illegal immigration. We have a problem with legal immigration being carried out incompetently on the side of the U.S. The Republicans are doing it. The Republicans are the problem. As with all things, the Republican filth are the problem. Take that anger that's boiling up, ball it up, throw it over there. The Republican politicians are. They know they are. I think everybody involved with it knows they are. So let's deal with that. We need a smoother process, an easier process for immigrating to this country. That's what we do in the long term. I think we cannot leave it to the states to facilitate this. There should be federal facilities that handle this entirely. Simply say these states have demonstrated that they cannot be trusted to handle this problem. Just like Greg Abbott can't be trusted to make a reliable electric grid in Texas. He cannot be trusted to carry out U.S. border policy. Here's my suggestion. There needs to be a punishment for what Greg Abbott has done. He's defied the Supreme Court. Separate from whether or not you think there's an immigration crisis. Again, I stress there isn't one. But separate from that, we cannot have governors defying the courts. We cannot have governors deciding which laws they will follow and which they won't. Just can't have it. That's not how a country works. That's not how the United States works. That is not how the state and federal governments work. He needs to be punished. He needs to suffer consequences. Here is what I recommend. Let's solve two problems at once. We need to give other governors reason to hesitate the next time they are thinking about defying the United States federal government. Punishment is the way to do that. What are they expecting? They're expecting what my first instinct was. My first instinct was to go have some feds kick in Greg Abbott's door, drag him out of his gigantic four-post bed, and his, kicking and screaming, give him a savage beating on the lawn of the governor's mansion, and then drag his half-conscious body into a police car, and then, I don't know, just drive it off a cliff. But that's what he wants. He wants us to attempt something like that. He wants me to advocate for that, so that he'll create more support for the insane stuff that he wants to do. You got to be smarter than he is. And fortunately, it's not harder to be smarter than Greg Abbott. So here's the consequence I propose instead. Take away some of his responsibilities. Patronize him, while at the same time insulting him, belittling him, and punishing him. Say this, Joe Biden. Governor Abbott has demonstrated that he is unable to solve the crisis on his border. He is resorted to putting up barbed wire and killing pregnant women. A young mother, 19-year-old, died because of Greg Abbott. He's created a crisis at the U.S. border. He has made us all unsafe with his incompetence. And now he refuses to follow a order from the Supreme Court. His incompetence can no longer be allowed to endanger the United States. And he certainly will not be allowed to dictate United States border policy. So the United States federal government will control the borders. His chief complaint, although I believe it is ludicrous, his chief complaint is that the U.S. has not protected Texas. Very well. The U.S. will protect Texas. This border crossing will be controlled by the U.S. National Guard. I, Joe Biden, will set the policies. I'll handle it all. I'll pay for it all. It's being taken out of the hands of the incompetent. The Greg Abbott administration is incompetent. They are also disloyal. They don't follow the rule of law. That will need to be addressed. That will be addressed in a court of law. But until that is settled, U.S. border policy will be handled by the U.S. federal government. And that's it. Remove his ability entirely, both to complain and to make the situation worse. That is his goal, to make the situation worse. So what I would recommend Joe Biden do, take control of the situation. He literally asked for it. Greg Abbott literally asked for it. His reasoning for what he is doing is that the federal government somehow failed to keep Texas safe from an invasion. Very well. Have the U.S. federal government be put completely in charge of the Texas border, because the Texas border is also the U.S. border where it touches Mexico. Greg Abbott might be competent enough to handle relations in between states within the U.S. So he can still control the border, touches other states, unless and until we get complaints from them about what a terrible job he's doing. I mean, I wouldn't trust him to watch a banana stand on his own for 5 minutes, but okay, we'll let him do that. But that's my proposal to y'all, and I want to know what you think. I think it would be wise of Joe Biden to simply wrest control of this situation from his hand. If you're watching the VOD, let me know what you think in the comments. And if you're watching live, let's have that conversation now. What should Joe Biden do? How should Greg Abbott be punished for his treacherous behavior? Oh, and I've heard Discord go off. But I don't. All right, gang, what do you think? Oh, well, we got some hello, Gray Sand Dragon. Good to see you. John Bailey, soulless bitch on wheels. I don't even know what that's in reference to. Mars Falcon, when you strike Abbott in a certain spot on the temple, he could appear to be kicking Rextrek. He'll just need to keep trying. We'll just need to keep trying until we find the sweet spot. Wicked Foxy Dragon. Can we pretend Greg Abbott is a migrant and that we are Abbott? Bad Foxy, no violence. No, you're right. You're right. Violence is bad. Mars Falcon, better to reclaim Fort Sumter, clearly, before the anti-humans begin their next civil war over bigotry, ignorance, and hate. They are the National Guard, not the State Guard. Make it clear, Joe. Yeah, I agree. Dominico, max punishment for Abbott. I agree. Groove drag. Oh, excuse me. The anti-corporatists. Never mind. It's in an unrelated conversation. Bad lefty. Make him swim. What do you guys think genuinely? Oh, wait a minute. Dominico, Biden take control of the situation in Texas. Yes. Cool. I kind of like that idea. I like that as a bit of political judo. You know, using the negative momentum to redirecting the negative momentum to fulfill our goals. I'm so sorry, Discord. I am going to have to close it down because I'm hearing notifications going off left and right. But what do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of Joe Biden taking away as punishment, and also as a way to heal the actual problems that are happening, taking away Greg Abbott's ability to run any sort of immigration? I think that's the path to go to. I'm sorry, the message flew by, but I saw somebody saying that Biden should consult Gavin Newsom. Now that's interesting. Rex Trek. Biden needs to consult Gavin Newsom. I think you're right. I think that's not a bad idea, especially because Newsom in a similar position with having a border where he does. But I really, really like the idea of the punishment for a Republican being that they would be made to see their own areas run well. Like this is how grown-ups do it, just so you know. And I'm going to very publicly let everybody know that this situation that has gotten better under my care is under my care. I'm going to make it clear why I'm doing this. I'm going to call you incompetent, and I'm going to make it clear that in our own sweet time, you're going to face criminal punishment. That's what I want to see from Biden. I might refine this message and put it out as a separate what you can do, because I want to advocate for this. I'd love to talk to who's that Majority Report caller? Ronald Reagan. I'd love to talk to him about the legality of this. I don't know what it is, but I do know that in times of emergency, the U.S. federal government has its powers expanded, and Texas has been calling this, I should be clear, Governor Abbott's administration has been calling this an emergency. So if he says it's such an emergency that he feels justified in breaking the law, going against the U.S. Supreme Court, then I think that's certainly enough of an emergency to send in the U.S. National Guard, have them handle everything. Got one more for you. Groove Dragon, this is how to solve the immigration situation. Change how we have made Central and South America into economic cartel hellholes. I mean, long term, yeah. Sure. Also, just straight up making it simpler. I mean, really, it's that, like, in terms of the immigration, you're talking about in terms of solving the number of immigrants coming to our country. Yes, we work to make other countries, the countries that they're coming from, easier places to live. with the knowledge, like you and I will have the knowledge that they weren't easy places to live in the first place, ironically because of the United States. However, if you're talking about the immediate problem, which is that we have a massive backlog of people who are just waiting to be heard, then the only way I can think to solve it is to roll up our sleeves and do the work. Process these people. Either accept or reject them. It's really that simple. Right now we reject by going, I don't see you, bop, 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 bop. Can't do that. The problem doesn't go away because we refuse. It's still there. And it's just a matter of processing. Simplify it if we want, medium term. You want to make it very easy so that this problem doesn't crop up. Simplify the process. We only need to find out that we're not letting in a dangerous person. That's it. Dangerous in every sense of the word. We need to make sure the person doesn't have a disease that is communicable. That is done very, very easily. And if they do have such a communicable disease, the pretty easy solution. You must go wait in this hotel for a month. And then problem solved. Here's the medicine. There's the hotel room. We'll see you in 1 month. Done. We need to make sure they're not on the lam from their country. Oh, you're here because you're claiming that you want you're under threat from a gang lord. Okay, what's your name? Show us your ID. We got all that. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Oh, you're wanted by the Mexican government for robbing 10 banks. We're not going to take you. Those are the things we need to figure out about a person. Instead, we make sure that people can recite the Constitution backwards and in Egyptian and can do a handstand while also rubbing their belly and somehow also doing push-ups. We're just plainly making it difficult for people to get in. Truly, joking aside, it is mounds of paperwork, and it takes literally months to get in the country initially, followed by, if you're lucky, followed by years and years and years and years to be made a citizen. And there's just no need to have it be such a complicated mess. And when we do that, even if you take away the right and wrong of the situation, you're just looking at the laziness of it, the efficiency of it. When we do that, that requires somebody to check up on all these steps. And people get lost in paperwork all the time. I forgot to replace my driver's license on my birthday. I forgot 3 weeks. 3 weeks. I was driving around, breaking the law, ignorant as that I was doing so. I only have to replace my license once every, I think, 4 years, 5 years. Imagine if I had to file a multi-page form every 6 months just to let the government know I'm here. I would fail. I am an American citizen. So our standards for people coming into our country to try to be American citizens are much higher than they are for just being an American citizen. That's unreasonable. They should do the Jake standard. A jackass like me has proven I can successfully be an American. Should be all that's necessary to be an American. If you have a pulse, you can fill out one form. Mazel tov. Come on in. Pick up a spade and let's get to work. Donald James X, good to see you. Damn, 2 hours? Yeah, I'm going, man. Looney Tunes 9000. Every MAGA idiot is lazy, Jake. Well, look, lots of people are lazy. I think the average person deep down is a little lazy. I don't think that's disqualifying. I think We should be sympathetic, and we should listen to that. We should ask why we are this way. I suspect it's because we do a bunch of nonsense that we don't actually need to do. We are beings which once upon a time hunted the plains. We speared giant beasts in order to feed ourselves. We toiled in the fields, grow things. And we respond to hunger and boredom. Hunger, tiredness, and boredom, let's say. Above all else except for maybe horniness. The point being, we are not programmed instinctually to respond to getting to the third meeting about the company dress policy we've had this year on time. We're not programmed to respond to that. We shouldn't be forcing ourselves constantly to jump through. We're certainly not programmed to respond to the need to inform some guy you've never met that you're still living 20 miles north of the border and you're still working at an ice cream shop, just like you were 6 months ago. You're still married to the same person. You still have 2 kids. And you still haven't committed any crimes. We're not programmed to do that because it's mostly useless. It's mostly useless. The only use that serves is to give racists an opportunity to catch you messing up. And when they do so, they then have an excuse to kick you out of the country they live in. If we get the opportunity, I would love to make an expatriate of every one of those Republican governors. Literally, their punishment being, in the end, you're no longer an American. If you want to tell you what, we'll open up the immigration process to you. If you want to come here, you just need to get in the very back of the line. And after we've processed everyone that you failed to process, whether we accept them or not, after we've processed all of them, we'll look and see if you filmed the forms out correctly. And when we find out that you didn't, because you've never had to do any real work in your whole useless life, when we find out that you filled out one of the hundreds of forms incorrectly, don't worry. Just going to put you back in the back of the line. Start over. Got another video here. Right now, Isreal is engaging in a genocide. And wouldn't you know it, the world noticed. One good thing, and I acknowledge that it's an ocean of bad for about a thimbleful of good, but one good thing with the failed U.S. war on terror and all that mud and blood has been that the world doesn't take the U.S.'s word for things quite so easily. Good, you shouldn't. We're devils on the world stage and should be treated as such. However, we got a little devil junior in Isreal. I happen to believe that you must respond to the Hamas attack. I don't know truly any lefty who has been of the opinion that there doesn't need to be a response. But the goal should be to stop further attacks like October 7th. The goal should not be to make October 7th seem like a walk in the park compared to the numbers of dead civilians racked up by the response to October 7th. thank God that the International Criminal Court is now recognizing that the Israeli response in Gaza needs to be curbed. It needs to be changed. It needs to be redirected. Here's the news.
Breaking news out of the International Court of Justice.
The ICJ has just delivered its
How many times did I call it the International Criminal Court? 1,000? International Court of Justice.
ruling. The case was brought by South Africa, which accuses Israel of committing genocide in Gaza.
Ironically, it's because I think of Nuremberg every time.
Among the measures approved, the court has ordered Israel to, quote, take all measures within its power to prevent genocide in Gaza.
NBC News foreign correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Tel Aviv. Matt, good morning. So walk us through this ruling here. What are the emergency measures it's ordered?
Yeah, so this was a consequential ruling because, you know, there were these issues of whether or not the court could even have jurisdiction over this. Israel had asked for this case to be thrown out, and this was a case that was brought by South Africa. Some 8 injunctions brought against Israel, and the court ruling, which we just heard just moments ago, said that Israel needs to ensure it does not commit genocide, punish those who incite to genocide, provide humanitarian assistance to Gaza, prevent the destruction of evidence of the genocide, and that Israel needs to submit a report to the court within the next month describing how they have worked towards all of these measures that you're now seeing.
All right. Let me just temper expectations. Israel will likely do none of these things, nor will they make anything resembling a sincere attempt to do any of these things. I think it's very likely Israel will just plow on and ignore this. This is nonetheless excellent news. Most people around the world aren't particularly informed about this issue. You watching are amongst the most well-informed, short of actually living it. And even then, short of actually being the ones getting attacked. When something like, when a headline like the International Court of Justice issues a ruling accusing Israel of genocide in Gaza, when that hits the papers, it tells people what the reality is. That's the actual. It's also worth noting, they're not talking about a ceasefire. Hamas is not an organization you engage in a ceasefire with, and the implication of a ceasefire is that the civilians who are the ones who are being killed right now, who are the people of concern, that they need to stop firing as well. You understand? It's to say ceasefire implies that both sides are shooting. Not what's happening. What's happening is Israel is charging through Gaza, slaughtering civilians, clearing land, blowing up hospitals and colleges, and occasionally skirmishing with Hamas fighters. That's what's happening. That's the prescription for that is not a ceasefire. It's a misdirect, I think, to focus on that. It's not to say that calls for a ceasefire are bad. They're not. But the point being, it's a separate issue whether or not you can slaughter civilians. This, and I'm going to say it again so memorization takes hold. This International Court of Justice ruling is focusing on the issue at hand here. I will play not even a tiny violin for Hamas deaths. Nor will I play even a minuscule violin if Netanyahu chokes to death on an apple. Those are the bad guys. Hamas and the Netanyahu government. Those are the bad guys. The people who need protection here are the civilians who are being killed. So, the country of Israel, which Netanyahu currently controls, has been told they must recognize the right of Palestinians in Gaza to be protected from slaughter. Acts of genocide are it's a blanket term which covers more than just killing, but you know, it covers things like the destruction of the college that Israel did. But the point being, the most important point being, the killing of civilians must stop. The targeting of civilians must stop. I saw a woman get sniped while she was carrying a peace flag. Shot dead. That must stop, according to the International Court of Justice. It orders Israel to prevent genocide in Gaza. Good. Making them responsible for it. The lightning bolt should strike my son, in other words. Orders Israel to take measures to prevent and punish direct incitement of genocide. Guess what? Israel has politicians just like our MAGA politicians who try to get people killed. The way they talk, things they suggest. They try to use any opportunity and any cowardly forum they can find to get people. They are saying Israel must take responsibility for that as well. Israel should have known from the jump that they must take responsibility for that. Israelis, shame on you, should have known better. When you're out there, I take that back. There's plenty of Israelis who are fighting the good fight politically, protesting for peace. Netanyahu supporters, which are our version of MAGA supporters, shame on you. You're as bad as our MAGA supporters. You're choosing to ignore rather serious information. It is saying that Israel must take measures to prevent and punish direct incitement of genocide. Israel must allow humanitarian assistance for Gaza. Understand that they weren't. They were preventing that. People are starving to death. People have starved to death because they're using medieval siege tactics on civilians. All these things are being declared by the world as a whole, the greater portion of it, with the exception, for some reason, of the Ugandan judge, who I will stress does not represent all of Uganda. It was pretty much unanimous, including in one of these counts, the Israeli judge agreeing. Let's get to the meat and potatoes.
On your screen. So we should be hearing from Israel in a month if they're hoping to comply with the court. Worth noting that the International Court of Justice doesn't have any teeth to impose these punishments. And Israel had called these allegations absurd. And now we just heard from the right-wing Minister of National Security here in Israel that this was an anti-Semitic ruling. But at the same time, the residents of Gaza and the Palestinian people and those who have been calling for a ceasefire throughout the entire world are also likely to be disappointed by this ruling.
We'll get to that in a moment. Doesn't that sound just exactly like Marjorie Taylor Greene? This is an anti-Semitic ruling. It just sound like, every time somebody rules that, say, a Star of David has to be allowed in a city hall, just like the cross was in some small town, or the Church of Satan must be allowed to erect their statue if you're going to allow a nativity scene. Doesn't it just sound like when you have people say, "Oh, this is anti-Christian. They hate Christ, and so they're insisting that these other people be allowed to be treated the same way." Ugh. Doesn't it just sound the same? It's anti-Semitic to ask us to stop murdering these people. It's MAGA. It's the same thing. If you've lived if you're in the English-speaking world and you're familiar with MAGA, and you're familiar with these Netanyahu government, awful. Let's find out why lefties aren't as pleased with it.
Calling for a ceasefire throughout the entire world are also likely to be disappointed by this ruling because it doesn't go so far as South Africa had asked for an immediate ceasefire, which is a demand that we've been hearing from all corners of the globe as Israel's incursion into the Gaza Strip now has killed more than 26,000 people, most of them civilians in the Gaza.
We're going to repeat that because it's important.
From all corners of the globe as Israel's incursion into the Gaza Strip now has killed more than 26,000 people, most of them civilians in the Gaza Strip.
All right, some words on a ceasefire. I understand what they're saying. Again, I don't care the words we use. I would have been delighted if they would have called for a ceasefire. But I don't think it hurts. I don't think all that much is lost by them not calling for it. And if that makes me seem heartless, that's because you're assuming that the International Court of Justice calling for a ceasefire would have meant that there would be an end to the shooting. Would not. It would not. What it would do is frame the civilians of Gaza as combatants. We're talking about he said it up top, a ruling which has no teeth. So the benefit of this is to frame for all of the people of the world what is happening. And by not calling for a ceasefire, they avoid that particular pitfall of making it seem like of helping Israel to confuse the people of Gaza with Hamas. And there's just a stark difference. Much like I had to stop myself earlier and differentiate between Netanyahu supporters and the people of Israel. It's really easy to slip into that with deadly consequences. All of that, set it to the side. The soul of what they're talking about, the soul of what people around the world want to happen is correct. Stop killing people, Israel. Stop killing people. Call it whatever. Call it a ceasefire. Call it a pause. Call it a change of strategy. Call it whatever you want. Stop slaughtering people. Tens of thousands of people are dead. You understand? Tens of thousands of civilians are dead. That number's going to keep going up. Here's on the off chance, we got somebody from Israel who's curious to know what this chunk of the world thinks about what's going on. Let me offer you some wisdom from someone who's been through it. 2001, you may recall, United States got attacked. And we demonstrated for the world the exact wrong way to handle an attack of our civilian population. We, in fact, showed terrorist groups all around the world exactly how vulnerable right-wing governments are to them. Here's the strategy terrorists use. When there is a right-wing government in charge, they attack the civilian population. So just so you know, anywhere around the world, voting for right-wingers puts civilians in danger. It makes them a target. Terrorists understand that the right wing of the world, the conservatives of the world, are a weakness, and they take advantage of that weakness because they know that when they attack the civilian population will react badly. They'll flock to their government. Their right-wing government will use that opportunity they will use the violence they are allowed in response to the attack to attack unrelated targets, to achieve their business ends with violence, and they will say that it's in response to the attack. Now, in your case, it's clearing out brown people from Gaza. That's what Netanyahu wants to do. He's not unlike Putin, actually, slaughtering the locals in order to do the miracle, the holy grail of modern country building on a planet where every square inch is claimed by somebody, gaining new land. That's what they'll use it for. That's what your government's using it for. My government used it to steal oil. Now, why would the terrorists want to help the right-wingers? They don't. They want a fighting force. They want to, in a MMO, we would call this technique kiting. K-I-T-I-N-G, kiting. They want to exhaust the military of the target, the country whose civilian population they attacked. They want to make them overcommit, and they target right-wingers because they know they will overcommit and they will get greedy. And in doing so, they will also create recruits for the initial attacker. So Hamas, their numbers are not shrinking. They're not going down. Lots of them are being killed, but they are gaining in strength because of Israel's actions right now. The forces that want to kill Israelis are gaining strength right now because of Israel's actions, the Netanyahu government's actions. That's not a good thing. You shouldn't want that if you're an Israeli. That's dangerous. Here's how to stop it. Stop your government slaughtering civilians. Demand they stop. There's plenty of Israelis out there protesting for peace. Join them. Because it's a danger to keep your current government as it is, acting as. They're getting stronger, those forces that want to hurt Israel, because the atrocities done by the IDF will leave survivors. And the people that survive the attacks from the IDF will want to strike back. The families of those that don't survive will want to take revenge. In our case, in the United States' case, we had 19 folks who all died in the initial attack, and then we had about 30 people who helped organize it. And in our clumsy attempts to kill our way to them, we created ISIS. We were trying to get Al-Qaeda, and we created ISIS, and we created a massive recruiting effort for the Taliban, and basically every even mildly militarized force in the region, to the point that some of our dire enemies are now leading the countries that that we invaded. We also lost tens of thousands of Americans. I think 17,000 in the direct fighting. We ruined our reputation on the world stage. We overcommitted. And frankly, I'm not so sure that any of that made us any safer. I'm glad we killed bin Laden, but we did so in a way that was totally separate from all the other nightmare stuff we did, sending David Petraeus and the gang to slaughter. None of it was necessary, turns out. Not simple, I should say, but a small group. I was going to say of heroes, but the whole point is they're anonymous. So, a small strike team went in and killed bin Laden. That's all we did. That's it. If you are an Israeli, you want to know what I think is the correct way to handle this. My answer is do what Obama did. Small strike team. Find the leaders, capture or kill the leaders. That's how you get revenge for October 7th. What you do not do is mow down civilians in Gaza. What Hamas does not want you to do, small strike team going after their leaders. What Hamas does want you to do, exactly what you're doing. Do you think this is a surprise to them? Do you think they didn't know how the Netanyahu government would respond to October 7th? You don't have to like your enemy, but you should understand them. Right now, you're an Israeli citizen. You support Netanyahu's actions. Right now, you are doing exactly what Hamas wanted you to do. You are helping the people who are responsible for October 7th. Consider that. Now consider what the International Court of Justice just said. They're getting you to do a genocide. They've attacked you and made you the villain somehow. It's never late to be better than you were. You know? It's not too late to at least attempt to not lay awake at night thinking, by God, what have I done? You might be able to recover enough of your honor to look yourself in the mirror one day. It's good news for lefties that the International Court of Justice asked Israel to stop genocide. Good that they are using this language, if not directly accusing them of genocide. They are doing the rather tactful thing of making them responsible for preventing a genocide. And when they fail, they will then be responsible for failure to prevent a genocide as opposed to genocide. The power of that, the utility of that, I suppose, is for us It's for when we talk to our leaders, or when we talk to the people who support the wrong people in this, no matter where you're from. So we can point the international courts and say, there, this is not just my opinion. There's a group of serious people. There's the finest legal minds these countries could come up with, calling this what it is. We all have different definitions of what makes a person good or evil. Fortunately, especially in Israel, definition of someone who is good, not someone who allows a genocide to happen.